What dark secret will Abraham uncover in the shadow of King Abimelech's palace? Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did to Sarah as he had spoken. Sarah conceived, and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham's decision to deceive Abimelech about his relationship with Sarah reflects his fear and lack of trust in God's protection. This act of deception has far-reaching consequences, testing the faith of Abraham and the integrity of Abimelech. The complexities of human nature are revealed in this moment, as Abraham's actions are driven by a mix of fear, self-preservation, and a desire to protect his wife. Abraham called his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. Abraham circumcised his son, Isaac, when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son, Isaac, was born to him. God's intervention in Abimelech's dream serves as a stark reminder of his sovereignty and power. Abimelech's response, though initially defensive, ultimately demonstrates a willingness to listen and obey God's commands. This encounter highlights the theme of God's protection and provision, as he works to preserve the integrity of Abraham's family and the promise of a future nation. Sarah said, "God has made me laugh. Everyone who hears will laugh with me." She said, "Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age." The child grew, and was weaned. Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. Abimelech's decision to return Sarah to Abraham demonstrates his commitment to doing what is right in the eyes of God. This act of repentance not only restoration to Abraham's family but also paves the way for a deeper understanding of God's character and a more profound appreciation for the importance of integrity. The consequences of Abimelech's actions serve as a reminder that our choices have far-reaching impacts, not only on our own lives but also on the lives of those around us. He lived in the wilderness of Paran. His mother took a wife for him out of the land of Egypt. Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did to Sarah as he had spoken. Sarah conceived, and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham called his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. The birth of Isaac represents the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham, a testament to his faithfulness and power. This moment marks a significant milestone in the narrative of Abraham's life, as he experiences the joy of fatherhood and the realization of a long-held dream. The birth of Isaac also serves as a reminder of God's covenant with Abraham, highlighting the theme of promise and fulfillment that permeates the biblical narrative. Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking. Therefore she said to Abraham, "Cast out this servant and her son. For the son of this servant will not be heir with my son, Isaac." The thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight on account of his son. God said to Abraham, "Don't let it be grievous in your sight because of the boy, and because of your servant. In all that Sarah says to you, listen to her voice. For your offspring will be named through Isaac. I will also make a nation of the son of the servant, because he is your child." Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and gave her the child, and sent her away. She departed, and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. The expulsion of Hagar and Ishmael serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the challenges of navigating difficult family dynamics. This event also highlights God's concern for the vulnerable and the marginalized, as he hears the cry of Hagar and provides for her and her son in their time of need. The story of Hagar and Ishmael raises important questions about the nature of family, identity, and belonging, inviting us to reflect on our own relationships and the ways in which we respond to those in need. The water in the bottle was spent, and she put the child under one of the shrubs. She went and sat down opposite him, a good way off, about a bow shot away. For she said, "Don't let me see the death of the child." She sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. God heard the voice of the boy. The angel of God called to Hagar out of the sky, and said to her, "What ails you, Hagar? Don't be afraid. for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Get up, lift up the boy, and hold him in your hand. For I will make him a great nation." God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went, filled the bottle with water, and gave the boy drink. God was with the boy, and he grew. He lived in the wilderness, and became, as he grew up, an archer. He lived in the wilderness of Paran. His mother took a wife for him out of the land of Egypt. The story of Hagar and Ishmael serves as a powerful reminder of God's concern for those on the margins of society. His provision for them in the wilderness demonstrates his commitment to caring for the vulnerable and the oppressed. This event also highlights the theme of God's presence and provision in the midst of adversity, inviting us to reflect on our own experiences of hardship and to trust in God's sovereign care. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol the captain of his army spoke to Abraham, saying, "God is with you in all that you do. Now, therefore, swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son. But according to the kindness that I have done to you, you shall do to me, and to the land in which you have lived as a foreigner." Abraham said, "I will swear." Abraham complained to Abimelech because of a water well, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. Abimelech said, "I don't know who has done this thing. You didn't tell me, and I didn't hear of it until today." Abraham took sheep and cattle, and gave them to Abimelech. Those two made a covenant. Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. Abimelech said to Abraham, "What do these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves mean?" He said, "You shall take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, that it may be a witness to me, that I have dug this well." Therefore he called that place Beersheba, because they both swore an oath there. So they made a covenant at Beersheba. Abimelech rose up with Phicol, the captain of his army, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and called there on the name of Yahweh, the everlasting God. Abraham lived as a foreigner in the land of the Philistines many days. The covenant between Abraham and Abimelech marks a significant moment in the narrative, as these two leaders commit to a path of peace and mutual respect. This agreement highlights the importance of diplomacy, cooperation, and trust in building strong relationships between nations and peoples. The covenant also serves as a reminder of God's presence and involvement in the affairs of humanity, inviting us to consider the ways in which our own relationships and agreements can be a reflection of God's character and heart.